Here we are, live and in concert one more time. Welcome to the show. Glad you joined me. Have a wonderful idea today. Heard something fantastic. Something literally blew my lips off. I had no idea it was even there. And then all of a sudden, I was full of knowing. And I'm going to share a little bit of that knowing with you today. And I hope you hear every bit of it. We have I've often looked across the spread, this scope, this whole wide horizon of what we call these many pagan faiths. And I see people follow this person, and I see people follow that person. They form solid bonds, and these men, they harp upon, well, you got to be loyal, and blah, 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 and to keep them there. And there's not really producing anything. They just, if there's enough people over here, well, all of a sudden they'll appear more right than the other group. Meanwhile, this group's talking this and this group's talking that. You know, if you look at the people that are successful around us, with all of these people that we know, if you look at the people that you kind of admire from a distance, notice they're not in that mold. See, here's a story. Here's a story about a man. And I took it from a Buddhist, Shaolin monk. And it's fucking so wildly appropriate to everything that's going on today. I felt compelled. Today I was forced to utter these words into truth. So there is a mountain, a man lived at the bottom of this mountain. He looked at it every day, and he thought, someday I'm going to see that mountain. Someday I'm going to climb that mountain. Someday I'm going to figure all that out. I'm going to climb up there and see what it's all about. And so finally the day comes and he begins the journey. Just like we all do, we begin our journey. We jump up here like John Wayne and, hey, I found a new way. I'm going to follow this path. Knowing full well that we have to ascend a mountain, that there's something we have to grow into. Somewhere in the back of our mind, our comfortable, lazy-ass selves, we come across somebody that kind of hinders that. And just like that young man that's decided to climb to the top of the mountain, he meets a fellow traveler at the base of the mountain. And he asks that fellow traveler, he says, what path did you take and what did you see at the top of the mountain? And the fellow traveler spoke to him of everything he'd seen and the path that he had taken. Well, the young man thought that path, that's a little too hard. I don't think I'm going to go that way. So he continued to walk on around the base of the mountain. And he met another traveler. What path did you take and what did you see at the top of the mountain? The other traveler told him his experience was something much different. All day long he walked around the base of the mountain, asking traveler after traveler, what path did you take and what did you see? And he got as many different answers as there were people he'd come across. And at the end of the day, he figured, well, I've got all of this information. Maybe I don't need to climb my mountain. His own thought process hindered him from ascending to something greater and developing his own sense of clarity. He was blinded by the perceptions and the illusions and the delusions of others, what they saw and how it fit into their lives. He could relate to the world through as many people as he interacted with, and yet he would never have his own sense of clarity because he did not rise of his own accord. He did not embrace the struggle. He did not bear up under the load. He did not become what he was supposed to become. He simply interpreted the perceptions of someone else. He did not suffer. He did not strain. He did not try. So as you walk through this world and you look at what's going on around you and you find yourself in tough times, are you even trying? Or are you simply interpreting the perception someone else has told you to interpret? What mountain are you trying to climb? And let me assure you, if you're in the middle of life and you're not trying to climb some kind of mountain, you're wasting time. To simply sit here and be comfortable, sit on the sofa and watch TV and indulge in the perceptions that everyone else might have of the world around us, What kind of crime must that be against our own souls? How more eloquently could it be put that we have missed the mark of life by not embracing the challenge of such a climb? Most people will never indulge in the kind of strenuous effort it takes to gain the clarity necessary. Now, let's take a look at something. Because there are some things that will stop you when you do decide to climb, and you need to be aware of what they are. If you can get past the laziness of just interpreting the world through other people's experiences without going and seeing and doing the way we were built to do, literally perfect vehicles to travel the surface of this world. We get past that and we start to climb. What's going to stop you from getting to the top to developing clarity? I had a friend once who was in the Battle of the Bulge. He had a silver star. His name was Jim Parmley. And he was a dear old man, and he was a good friend and neighbor. And as a teenage boy, I helped him do things around the house. Him and his wife were just exactly what you'd expect. Kind old people that had fought in a world war and worked professional jobs and built the kind of people we imagine built this country. He said after the Battle of the Bulge, he was at the liberation of Paris as well. I met him when I got sober. And he had gotten sober as well as an old man. And he said, there's only so much of this I'm going to deal with. I just want to be comfortable in life. I've fought my entire life. I want to be comfortable now. He said, there's no need for me to tell my wife what my drunken self did at the liberation of Paris. That would only cause pain. So I'm comfortable right here, and this is the quality of my sobriety in my life. See, when we begin to climb that mountain, success begins to happen. And I don't really care how you define success. It could be relationships, it could be money, it could be possessions. I really don't care. That's up to you. That's your life. That's your perception. That's your clarity, not mine. My only concern is that you try. Try for it. Give it hell. Quit trying to figure out how to avoid the pain of living and try. Indeed, I find that most people who try to avoid the pain of living to be cowards when they find all kinds of good psychological reasons how to handle rejection and failure. Embrace that shit. Embrace it, let it hurt you, bleed over it a little bit, and grow from it. Quit trying to spend so much time trying to avoid it. There's huge industries out here trying to teach people how to avoid not hurting. You get to a certain point on that mountain and you come to, let's say there's the perfect restaurant and bar there. And you've succumbed to your first of many things that stop us in this life from trying to ascend that mountain. And oddly enough, the first one is pleasure. Not pain, but pleasure. I like it here. I'm going to stay right here. I got a good view, got plenty to drink, there's beautiful people. This is good stuff. I'm going to stay right here. I feel good here, and I'm going to indulge in this pleasure. Now, if you can't handle pleasure, how will you ever handle the next thing that slows us down, that being pain? Or fear, what we feel. What does it look like? Well, this is a little too tough. I don't know that I'm going to go right back down there and go back to being comfortable. I don't really need to go this high. Okay. See, we haven't put a sufficient body of, or an idea of quality upon what it means to sit at the top of the mountain, other than for some of us, we jumped into this spirituality and we began to dimly realize that there is something at the top of the mountain. I don't know what. I don't know what it looks like. I ain't got nothing to bottle up and sell you. But I do know there's something up there. What's it look like where the earth meets the sky? What's it feel like to achieve that kind of success? Every man that served in the military, every man that's got in the ring, every man that survived the tough times, every woman that's had to deal with a heartache and loss. Well, they got a little inkling. They had hope that there was something better to get them through all that. So if you can't handle the ideas of pleasure and comfort, how in the world will you ever to say, you know what, this may not necessarily be good for me. I want to take a step forward and try this. This is probably going to suck. This is probably going to hurt. It's in my path, though. I guess I'm going to have to go through it. I was built for it. The best thinking I could come up with put me in this situation. I guess I'm going to have to deal with it, go through it, make it happen. Don't fall on your face and cry and whoa. No. Get up and deal with it. And put one foot in front of the other. Because at some point, you're going to get tired. And it may manifest itself even as a depression. I've struggled so long. I've tried so hard. And I keep trying, and I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere. See, that's your thoughts. And if you can't control your thoughts, I assure you somebody else will. Ask the nightly news. So now we've got to overcome pleasure and pain and being tired. And the next thing we got to look at is all of those people that we called friends. Well, they weren't necessarily there for us in some of those dark times, were they? Now, the ones who were, you keep them close. But sometimes you're going to look around and you're going to realize, I am awfully alone. I am really out on a limb with this one. And believe you me, people, if there's something I know about, it's being out on a limb. We cannot afford at this point to begin to create resentments and hatreds and ill will towards other individuals. And yet, all too often, when we're tired, the easiest thing to do, when we've walked away from something we thought everybody said, that's good. Why are you walking away from it? Don't walk away. That's good. And said, no, we're going to embrace some pain and we're going to bear up under the load. And then we get so tired and then we all of a sudden we're a little depressed because this is a little bit tougher than we thought it was going to be. And next thing you know, well, why in the fuck ain't there anybody here helping me? Where are my friends? And now all of a sudden our thoughts become clouded with the kind of things that make us not like people anymore. Why is no one here to help me? Am I that bad of a person? And ill will begins to manifest towards others. And now our thought process is no longer about climbing in hope. Now we're feeding on discontent. Now we're using that anger and that energy, and sometimes it's directed towards me. My own thoughts of not liking myself. We've got to deal with that too. Because we still have a mountain to climb, and now we're 3/4 of the way up. And it's going to be just as much effort to get down as it is to keep on going. I've climbed some mountains, I know. 14,000 feet may not seem like much when you're climbing Everest, but it's still 14,000 feet, I promise you. The world changes at that height. I remember summiting a peak in the Rainbow Mountains of the Alaska Range outside of Delta Junction, Alaska, southeast of town, above the Copper River Valley. We were walking along a ridge, a whole squad of us, and we had all of our gear, and we were walking along a ridge. We were way the hell up there. Breathing hard, struggling. We were climbing the mountain. We were doing it. We were graduating this course. And we stopped to catch our breath, and I looked over my right shoulder, and I looked down in the Copper River Valley, and I saw a B-1 bomber flying nap of the earth, giving it hell. He was flying below us, and all of these infantry soldiers on the peak of the mountain, yeah! And he saluted us as he flew down below us and kept on going. A B-1 bomber, not a fighter jet, a B-1 bomber, flying nap of the earth, below radar. Whew. One of those amazing experiences you get to experience when you're out there trying to climb the mountain. Now, in that very moment, I was very happy to be where I was at. I was tired. I was beat up. I was carrying too much weight. I was struggling hard. And there wasn't anybody around me that was going to take my pack because my dumb ass decided I'm going to carry the heaviest one because I'm Brian Wilton. That's why. But I succeeded as Brian Wilton too. And we can't ever forget that. When you're out there struggling and you feel like you're all alone, ain't no time to be sitting around bitching about other people. Our best thinking got us in this problem. Keep trying and get to the top of that mountain. It's awfully hard to figure out where you're at on the mountain of life or whatever you happen to be doing. And sometimes all you can do is you got to sit back and really take a look at where you're at. Be honest with yourself for once in our lives as we try to do this. Don't be walking around the base of the mountain asking our best what they think. Be honest with ourselves. Where am I at? What am I doing here? Okay, I'm here. Now what do I do? Because there's a real strength that comes through finally recognizing and accepting how the thinking that we indulge in brings us to the various crossroads in life. And it's okay. It's part of the path. It's part of the struggle. It's part of the world. If you don't, because once you recognize and accept it, guess what you can do? You can fucking change it. And if there's one great gift that we might have ever received trying to embrace this path is that all of a sudden it's a very wide horizon and there's a lot of choices and it's a big world and we got a big faith. We have many gods on our side. All of them an aspect of who we are, how we think, how we feel. Don't get caught up in your thoughts and your emotions and the pain of your body. You're so much more than all of that. You're so much more than all of the things you think and all of the things you feel. You are the energy that animates all of it. Once you begin to understand how limitless that is, you can begin to comprehend what Julian the Apostate said when he began to discuss the gods. He said, "For what is a god but a being that knows himself so much more intimately than a mere man will? And in that knowing, he has limitless and boundless opportunity and abilities." Ingus, the seed of the God within us all. The third et of the elder Futhark is a testament and a touchstone for us to reach in there and realize there's something more to us under the surface that gives us what it takes to be great. So when it comes time for civil disobedience, when it comes time to stand up for what you want to believe in, when it comes time to say, no, I'm not going to move, you move. You will have the clarity and the strength and the ability and the mental fortitude to withstand, to endure, and to conquer. Because at the end of the day, that's what they're going to remember. When they talk about Paw Brian, when they talk about Paw, Grandpa Wilton, that is me. My sons will know, and they will say to their sons and their grandsons, my daddy was a hell of a man. What greater immortality and legacy could a man ever wish to receive? Except perhaps the love of a good woman. And even then you got to be able to walk through the fire to get there. So go out there and give it hell, folks. Grab life by the nose and whip its ass.